Share your wedding venue with your cousin, split the $35 cost, my parents said. Hi, my name is Amelia Hawthorne, and apparently, weddings in my family are negotiable. I stared at the text from my mother, the ocean blue invitation resting on the counter beside me. The smell of fresh lilies from the florist still lingered faintly in the air. My hands shook slightly, not from nerves, but from disbelief. $35, I muttered under my breath. For my wedding? My fiancé, Julian, didn't even blink. He slid his phone toward me, voice calm but firm. Amelia, we don't share our day like a community hall rental. We refuse. I nodded, relief and pride mixing. But relief quickly curdled when I remembered my parents. Fine, I replied to my mother. Then we're canceling. The silence on the other end was deafening. Hours later, they texted again. Frantic emojis, desperate pleas, offers to cover costs I never asked them to. I ignored it. I spent the afternoon finalizing Julian and my plans for a private ceremony. The invitation went out quietly. A boutique chapel, champagne reception, subtle touches we loved, none of which anyone else would dictate. The morning of the wedding, Julian and I walked hand in hand through the chapel doors. Peaceful. Perfect. Private. Meanwhile, I saw a flurry of social media notifications. My cousin had booked her own wedding in London. Same date. Same time. She had gone on a honeymoon 6 hours later, thinking she'd outmaneuver us. By the time my phone rang, it was my mother. Her voice cracked, frantic. Amelia. How could you? Don't you know your cousin is? I held the phone lightly, my thumb resting on the silent button. Mom, I said softly, calmly, letting each word land like a gentle wave. I'm sorry, but we made a choice. And it's ours. She went quiet. And in that quiet, I felt the first, slow thrill of complete control. By midday, the messages had multiplied. My phone buzzed relentlessly, my mother, my father, even aunts and uncles forwarding frantic screenshots. She's gone to London without telling us, one text read. Amelia, this is insane. Another. Your cousin's wedding is ruined. I sipped my tea slowly, the faint scent of jasmine curling around me. The chaos wasn't mine to solve. It was theirs to face. Julian and I walked through the streets near the chapel, umbrellas shielding us from a light drizzle. The city smelled like rain on cobblestones, like freedom. Every laugh, every glance, every hand held tightly in mine reminded me why we had made our decision. Meanwhile, the family storm raged online. Group chats were exploding, cousins arguing, parents pleading, their voices filtered through notifications and emojis. My cancellation had set off a domino effect no one could stop. My mother called again. I let it go to voicemail. She's ignoring us, my father muttered in a forwarded voice memo. How is she ignoring all of us? I opened my laptop. The London venue had posted a photo. The cousin in a wedding dress, perfectly staged, champagne glasses raised. The caption, "Can't wait to share this special day." I smiled. The irony was delicious. She thought she had won. She thought the trip, the photos, the ceremony would overshadow ours. But the truth was simple. While they were scrambling, panicking, trying to rewrite reality, Julian and I were calm. We had privacy. We had control. And we had each other. By evening, my mother's calls had escalated to texts that bordered on desperate. You can't do this to family. I typed back carefully. Mom, we didn't do anything to anyone. We just chose what's ours. Silence followed. And for the first time, I realized this quiet, unshakable control was far more satisfying than confrontation. By Sunday morning, the panic had escalated. My mother's texts were relentless, alternating between pleading, guilt-tripping, and outright anger. Amelia, call me now. You can't just ignore us. Your cousin's wedding will be a disaster. I didn't respond. Instead, I walked out onto the balcony. The soft hum of London traffic below mingled with the scent of morning rain. Julian poured coffee, steam rising like the calm before a storm. We watched the city stretch awake, indifferent to the chaos on our phones. At noon, my mother called again. This time, I answered. Amelia, you don't understand. This is family. How could you? I held up a hand. Mom, I said, my voice quiet but precise. We chose our wedding. Our day. Our plans. You and everyone else are free to do yours. But it doesn't belong to you to control ours. There was a pause. I don't know why you can't, she stammered. I let the silence fill the line, letting the weight of reality settle around her words. Meanwhile, the cousins' London ceremony unfolded as planned. Photos appeared online, champagne, smiles, exotic flowers, the glimmer of happiness. But the contrast was subtle and sharp. Her guests were scattered, some arriving late, some confused about flights, some juggling time zones. Julian and I spent the afternoon laughing quietly over lunch at a nearby cafe. The simplicity of our day, unrushed, perfectly ours, was a quiet contrast to their frantic, half-prepared gathering across the continent. By evening, I checked my phone again. My mother had sent one last message. I can't believe you did this. I smiled softly. Yes, Mom. You can believe it. Because the day we wanted, calm, intimate, and unshakably ours, was unfolding exactly as it should. Monday morning arrived with quiet sunlight spilling across our hotel room. Julian was reading quietly, and I scrolled through the wedding group chat one last time. Chaos. Pure chaos. Cousins arguing over who was supposed to arrive when. My mother desperately forwarding itineraries. My father sending panic texts. Your cousin missed the rehearsal dinner. I sipped coffee slowly, letting it warm my hands. The irony wasn't lost on me. They thought our wedding day would be overshadowed, when in reality, ours had been calm, perfect, exactly as we wanted. Then my mother called again. I let it ring. 3 times. Finally, curiosity, or desperation, won. Amelia, she started, voice tight and trembling. How are you so calm? Don't you care about family? I leaned back, the city hum beneath us, and smiled faintly. Mom, I do care, I said softly. I just care more about respect, boundaries, and making sure our choices are truly ours, not dictated by panic or entitlement. Silence. Boundaries, she repeated, as if tasting the word for the first time. Meanwhile, across the city and the continent, my cousin's wedding started to unravel in ways they hadn't anticipated. Late guests. Confused schedules. Vendors overbooked. My mother frantically trying to coordinate remotely, calling me every few minutes with questions, begging for solutions I had no intention of providing. Every text, every call, every panicked post was a reminder. I had chosen wisely. They had assumed my refusal would bend under family pressure. It hadn't. Instead, it had created the most satisfying contrast, their chaos versus our quiet perfection. Julian took my hand, warm and steady. Looks like we won without lifting a finger, he said, voice calm. I nodded. The city stretched before us, indifferent, peaceful. And for the first time, I felt the full weight of control, the subtle, unshakable power of choosing our way and letting consequences speak for themselves. By Tuesday, the drama had spread beyond private messages. Social media notifications lit up my phone like a warning light. Did you see Amelia and Julian's wedding? Cousin went to London, alone. Parents are panicking. I scrolled slowly, letting each post sink in. Photos of my cousin's ceremony were everywhere, carefully staged smiles, champagne glasses raised, flowers perfectly arranged. But the small details gave away the cracks, guests missing, vendors confused, timelines overlapping. Meanwhile, Julian and I posted nothing. Just a single photo. Us, laughing quietly outside the chapel, sunlight filtering through the stained glass. No hashtags. No location. Just us. Calm. Perfect. Private. The contrast was subtle but devastating. My cousin's attempt to steal the spotlight only highlighted our control. Then my mother called again. I answered on speaker. Amelia. This is unacceptable. You've embarrassed the whole family. I took a slow breath. Mom, I said evenly, the only embarrassment is assuming that we'd bend to pressure. That our choices belong to anyone else. We didn't ruin anyone's day. We chose ours. She went quiet. I could hear the storm of panic she must have been managing on her end. Later, I received a group email from my cousin, forwarded by my father. Next time, maybe check with everyone before making plans. Things got complicated. Complicated. I smiled. That was the understatement of the century. No shouting. No drama. No confrontation. Just truth, subtly delivered, consequences unavoidable. And as I sipped my tea on the balcony, the city below stretched peacefully, indifferent to the chaos of those who had tried to control me. Sometimes, the most satisfying revenge isn't loud. It's quiet. Calculated. Inevitable. By Wednesday, the consequences were undeniable. My mother's calls slowed, replaced by panicked texts. She was no longer pleading or demanding. She was negotiating, trying to understand how one simple no had unraveled everything. Amelia, your cousin's honeymoon is delayed. Flights cancelled. Vendors overbooked. I don't know what to do. I sipped coffee, the rich aroma mingling with the faint scent of rain from the balcony window. Julian brushed past, smiling quietly. Our day was calm. Perfect. Private. Meanwhile, my cousin's London wedding, which she had thought would overshadow ours, was in turmoil. Guests were stranded. Flights missed. Photographers double-booked. The meticulous plan she had relied on was collapsing under its own weight. I didn't need to intervene. I didn't need to comment. Nature, or perhaps karma, was taking its course. My father finally called. Voice low, hesitant. Amelia, we underestimated you. I leaned back in the chair, letting the words settle. He had finally realized the truth. My refusal wasn't stubbornness, it wasn't selfishness, it was clarity. Boundaries enforced with calm precision. Later, I received one last desperate text from my mother. Can we at least talk? I didn't reply immediately. I stepped onto the balcony, letting the cool morning wind wrap around me. The city stretched out, indifferent. The quiet satisfaction was palpable. Finally, I typed back. Yes. When you're ready to respect our choices. No anger. No drama. Just the truth, simple, undeniable. And as I watched Julian approach with a smile, the calm certainty settled over me. Our day, our choices, our life, completely ours. For the first time, I felt the quiet thrill of total control. Not through chaos, but through patience, precision, and presence. By Thursday, the shift was clear. The family was in disarray. Not dramatic, not chaotic, they were quietly admitting defeat. My mother called first. Hesitant, measured. Amelia. I see now. You weren't being unreasonable. You were firm. I smiled softly, letting the words settle. Mom, we just set boundaries. That's all. She hesitated. I didn't realize how much we relied on your compliance. There it was. The admission. The truth I had waited for years to hear. Compliance disguised as love, mistaken for generosity. Meanwhile, my cousin reached out privately. Amelia, I messed up. I thought I could outshine you, but everything fell apart. Flights, vendors, the whole schedule. I shouldn't have assumed anything. I leaned back in the chair, letting the afternoon light warm my hands. The irony was delicious. The cousin who thought she could steal the day had only highlighted our perfection. Later, texts trickled in from other relatives. Apologies. Confessions. Humble acknowledgments that yes, Amelia Hawthorne and Julian Hawthorne had chosen wisely. I didn't gloat. I didn't rub it in. I simply let the quiet satisfaction settle like a soft tide washing over sand. Julian brought me coffee and smiled. Looks like the family finally learned a lesson, he said. I nodded, staring out at the skyline. Some lessons, I murmured, don't come from shouting. They come from consequences. The city hummed beneath us. Indifferent, constant, eternal. And in that quiet, deliberate space, I felt complete control. Not arrogance. Not triumph. Just certainty. For once, no one could question our choices. No one could rewrite our day. No one could impose their expectations. And that, finally, was priceless. Friday morning arrived calm and golden. Julian and I stepped onto the balcony. The city stretched below us, indifferent and eternal. Our wedding day had passed flawlessly. Every moment had been ours, intimate, peaceful, perfect. Then my mother called one last time. I answered. Amelia. Her voice was quieter now, subdued, almost reverent. I understand. You were right. We underestimated how serious you were. I smiled softly, letting the warmth of the morning settle in. Mom, it wasn't about being right. It was about boundaries, respect, and making sure our choices are ours alone. Silence filled the line. You You didn't have to do all of this, she whispered. I let the words hang. Not with anger. Not with vindication. But with quiet, undeniable clarity. Yes, I did, I said. Because lessons unlearned have a way of repeating. Across the ocean, my cousin's London wedding had finally wrapped up, but not without complications. Guests frustrated, timelines disrupted, vendors stretched thin. She had learned her lesson the hard way. Assuming entitlement over someone else's plans comes with consequences. I hung up, turning to Julian. His hand found mine, fingers entwined, warm and steady. The sunlight caught the edges of the chapel doors we had chosen, painting everything in gold. No confrontation. No shouting. No drama. Just quiet, undeniable victory. Sometimes, the most powerful revenge isn't loud or flashy. It's subtle. Calculated. Inevitable. The city below continued its rhythm. Unaware. Uncaring. And yet, in our corner of it, the lesson had landed perfectly. We had chosen our day. Our happiness. Our control. And no one, neither mother nor cousin, would forget it. Some victories are quiet. But they resonate forever.